All right, go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to do a short video on this bicycle that I bought. It's an e-bike. It's the first e-bike that I've ever bought. I've ridden bikes for years and years and years, but this is the first e-bike I've ever bought. This is the Trek Super Commuter Plus 8. And I did a lot of research on bikes, and I just want to share a couple of my first impressions on this bike. I put about 300 miles on it so far. I love the bicycle. It's everything I hoped it would be. But there's a few things I want to tell people that are looking at e-bikes and thinking about buying one. This particular bike here is a center drive pedal assist. You'll see some bikes with the motor on the front, some on the back wheel, and then some on here. I'm not gonna get a lot into the specs of this bike, because if you're into this video by now, you've already looked at the specs. You pretty much know what this bike is about. When I start riding the bike, I always put it in the least amount of power assist. There's 4 modes here. There's Eco, Tour, Sport, and Turbo. Those are the 4 modes. I always start out in Eco. Eco gives me as much assist as I want for riding around comfortably. And then if I get into any kind of hills, I'll turn it up to Tour or Sport. And then when I get to the top of the hill and go back down, I put it back into Eco. That gives me plenty of extra power. I really never need much more than that. And when I'm in Eco, generally I get about 75-mile range. You'll see reports of anywhere from 100 miles, 50 miles. They're all over the board. I can tell you from my personal experience with this bike, I get about 75 miles range. That's riding in Eco and then going to the higher settings, going up hills. I usually cruise anywhere from about 18 to 22, 23 miles per hour. So I'm cruising along at a pretty good pace, getting that kind of range. I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that there's no regeneration on this. I would stay away from the regen on these bicycles, because what that does is it creates friction working against you. This bike here, you'll notice it has standard road bike wheels on the front and on the back. Those are standard road bike wheels, so that when you're going down a hill or you quit pedaling and you're not getting any more assist, this bike coasts just like a road bike. It just coasts super smooth. You have nothing working against you. With regen, you're always going to have something working against you. And I've talked to several people about regen. You don't really get that much more range for it. Stay away from regen. Go with the standard road bike wheels front and back. So you're going to coast. Going down hills, this bicycle just coasts as smooth as can be. Very, very nice. Notice it's got the wide tires on it. You'll see some bikes with wide tires, some bikes with thin tires. I like the wide tires for a couple reasons. This bike is a little heavier. You don't really feel the weight when you're pedaling it, other than it's very stable. The extra weight gives you a very nice stability when you're riding the bike. But the wide tires are going to help you with that extra weight in terms of stability on the road. But another thing about the wide tires is you're going faster on an e-bike than you normally go on a standard bicycle. And because of that, bumps, potholes, things in the road come at you faster, and sometimes you don't have a chance to dodge them because you're going a little faster. The extra size in the tires gives you that ability to go over those bumps, and you're not going to damage your wheels. I would definitely suggest the wider tires on an e-bike. Another nice thing about this bike is that it shifts. You can shift up with this lever here. You can shift up 3 gears in the back all at once. And that's really nice for when you're coming up to a light and you got to stop. You can get into your low gears very fast with this lever here. It shifts up 2 or 3 gears at once and then shifts back down single gears. The pedals on this bike, I had to exchange the pedal, or I had to put on different pedals, because the pedals that came on it were too narrow and the side of my foot hung over the side. So I put on some different pedals on it, and the pedals were kind of cheesy anyway. So if you buy this bike, or really any e-bike, you're going to want to put on better pedals. Okay, so that's something you're going to want to think about. The saddle, I've ridden a lot of bikes. Over the years, I've ridden a ton of different bicycles, and lots of times with new bikes, I get saddle sore. This particular saddle, I don't know what it is about this saddle, but this is the most comfortable saddle I've ever ridden on. I think it might have something to do with the fact that the sides of it slope down a little bit. but it's a very, very nice saddle on this bike, and one that I would suggest. And then that's about it. I just wanted to make a short video and cover some of these things that people have asked me about. I did put a bag on the side of it. This is very nice to have a bag. Fits right on the rack very nicely. I put on a couple extra lights on the back. Then I put on an extra light on the front. The reason for this is that the lights that come on this bike don't blink. They're very strong, bright lights, but they don't blink. So I put on some blinking lights on it on the front and back. I also installed a mirror on it. These are all Bone Traeger equipment that fits very nicely on this bike. The frame, as you know, is aluminum, and the fork is carbon fiber, making this just a beautiful bicycle. It rides super nice. Anybody thinking about buying an e-bike, definitely consider this one, because like I said, this is the first e-bike I've ever bought, and I've done a lot of research on them. It's more than I ever thought it would be. It's just a beautiful bicycle, rides wonderfully. I would definitely suggest this, the Trek Super Commuter Plus 8.